back to Happy Health Hour to everybody. I am Dr. Nitesh Dosanjh, and joining me today we have Dr. M. Hi, Dr. M.
Hi.
We have Dr. B. How are you doing?
I'm good.
And we have Nurse Linda. Linda, how are you?
Fine.
Good. Okay. And I have news for all of you about Dr. P. My people found him. He's on his way back, and he will be on the podcast next week. Are we all happy? Are we really happy about
Yay.
that?
Yay. Is he
Always.
all in one piece?
He's totally in one piece, and he's rejuvenated, he's energized, he's got his spiritual kick. So it's all good for next week. But this week we are talking about technology and the myriad of health issues. So I'm intrigued by this because, again, like last week when we were talking about epigenetics, I don't really understand the nature of technology and how it is on biological systems and so forth. So, Nurse Linda, why don't you kick us off this week, seeing as you couldn't get your laptop to work last week and you just put your feet up and just had a cup of tea and just rested
So,
last week. So talk to us about, just give us a general introduction to cell phones and wireless tech and how it impacts human health and biological health generally.
well, sure. First of all, I had three different computers do their thing, and so the main issue there with that technology was aggravation and
Well, lovely
everything that
excuses.
it does to the
No,
body as you're
we're loving
responding to all of
excuses.
this.
We're loving excuses, but just let's get on with
Oh, well,
the
that is a real thing. That is a real thing. The frustration with dealing with technology,
okay.
whether you're a kid trying to play a video game or you're an adult trying to work. When it doesn't work, it's an issue. It causes all kinds of stuff. But getting back to the biology of the whole thing,
Yeah.
the planet we live on has a magnetic field. It's innate. It's part of it's how it was created. It's how the universe created this thing. And every so often the poles reverse. Either way, there's a magnetic field. Now, in the last 150 years, we're not talking any more than 150 years here. In the last 150 years, we have electricity. We have EM. We have the cell
EM.
tower.
You got to say that what that is. EM.
All of these things now
Linda, stop.
affect
You better,
that magnetic field.
Linda, just
Yeah.
stop a second. You just better say what EM is, just in case people listening
Oh,
don't know what
okay.
it stands for. Say
The
what it.
electromagnetic pulses that are used to carry signals or the different frequencies, the different bandwidths, all of that, the wires in the walls of our home that carry that electricity all throughout our homes, the wires in the streets, the wires underground, anywhere these things that did not exist 150 years ago now exist, affect everything around them. Fact. You have a natural, normal thing that came with this place we live in. Life developed within this magnetic field. And now we have, as human beings, the brilliant people that we are, the brilliant things that we are, have come up with all of this energy-saving, marvelous technology that makes everything we do a lot easier, except when it doesn't work. And that has, at the very base of everything, affected everything. It's no longer the place we came out of the primordial soup in.
Okay. Dr. M, can you elaborate so I think there's a hint from Nurse Linda that this is bad for human health. Can you elaborate and really spell out how it's bad and why it's bad?
Yes, I can. And this would take me all of like 5 hours to do, but we're limited in time. So, what about technology should we be all concerned about? Number one, it's invisible, that which is worrisome. The worrisome part is the invisibility, that which we can't see, but that which is affecting us. Electrification of our lives has happened since electricity began, sometime several centuries ago, and since then we've had nothing but conditions that have erupted since. So one of them is anxiety neurosis, which happened around the time of Freud, and people were suddenly becoming a little bit more anxious than they had been before. So this is kind of all on recorded on, people have noted this. They look back in time, see what was going on around the time of Sigmund Freud. And not that he's responsible, but he certainly had a diagnosis that was coming up quite a bit. It's called anxiety. So everybody uses that word very loosely. Um, but what is it? What's going on in the body? Something we've found, at least in this past 50 years, as a matter of fact, we have found out a lot of information about what had been going on back then and what has been amplified and multiplied. I can't tell you how many times over, a quintillion times over, the magnification, the electromagnetic field magnification, all of that, which Linda mentioned before, the electricity magnification. These are words that are kind of used interchangeably, but they are different. And again, I'm not going to get too technical with that, but let's just say that we have these fields, these electric fields, and there's a magnetic field, and all of them are kind of related to one another, and they're all doing something to us. That is, we're able to send signals, and we're able to communicate through electromagnetics. We're able to have currents. We're able to see things with lights, and we're able to use our computers. Um, but this invisibility, this which has been going on, we don't see it. We don't see these things happening that are creating, one, the anxiety neurosis, which happened again a couple of centuries ago and
Mhm.
is huge today. But that's just one problem that this causes. Again, we don't see this, what is known as microwave radiation. That is what our cellular radiation really is about. It's a spectrum, part of the spectrum anyway. It's a spectrum piece that is what cell phones and other devices are using for the pulsations and the transmissions of messages. So messages are transmitted extremely fast. So you have the high speed and all that, which you've heard. So all of those transmissions are coming around us, hitting our bodies, hitting biological systems, our bodies, the bodies of the trees, the bodies of the birds and the bees, the bodies of any biologicals. And it's creating a change in the membranes. Okay, the cell membranes are feeling this. Okay, and
Mhm.
it's creating things like strange brain activity. People are feeling uneasy. People are feeling some electrical sensations pulsing through their bodies and wondering and thinking that they're having some kind of strokes. We're hearing this, we're seeing it, it's on record. People are having, gastrointestinal symptoms. People are having sleeplessness. There's the increase and the rise in brain tumors and other tumors in the body is really out of this world. We've never seen such increase or such a incidence of cancer. People are told, do not put the cell phone by your head. Many who have done that in the beginnings of cell phones, when they started early in the 20th century, or around about the mid 20th century, they were huge. They were huge in size, and these people were putting them by their heads, and they continued to do so. And brain activity was altered. We know it. It still is. For anybody who puts a cell phone by their head right now, we've got problems. And children are handling cell phones. This is one of the scariest things there has ever been. Children with cell phones. This technology is coming in. These microwaves that I mentioned before are coming into the body in pulsatile fashion, as Linda indicated. The pulsations are what's doing the damage to the cell membranes, which is then doing more damage down the line, all of these free radicals forming, and disease like you've never seen before is happening.
Wow. Okay. So 1 second, Linda. I'm just going to just make sure the recap before I go to Dr. B, but I'll bring you in briefly before that. So what you're saying, Dr. M, is that in your opinion, there's some evidence that there's these waves, electromagnetic waves, can cause, in some instances cancers,
Yes.
but they can also cause issues around sleep deprivation. They can also cause issues around cognition and attention and self-esteem.
Right.
So there's lots of issues that this can cause. Am I right in repeating it?
Absolutely. We're having all kinds of cognitive changes and attention deficits, to say the least. We have children and adults who cannot hold their attention for very long because
Mm.
they're so distracted, and the brain is being affected by these pulsatile waves. And it's just remarkable, and it's not being brought out. That's why I
Okay.
thought it was a very important, timely topic. Let's bring this out today to talk about how this has been affecting our brains and bodies.
Okay. Before I go to Dr. B, thank you, Dr. M. Before I go to Dr. B, Linda, Nurse Linda, did you have a quick thing to say?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to build a little bit on, or bridge a little bit between what Dr. Maria and myself said. And I
Yeah.
said this in prior podcasts. We are nothing more than billions and billions and billions of chemical reactions. We're talking now at the cellular level. So, we have organs, our cells have organelles. We're talking about something that can't be seen except with
Mm.
special microscopes and
Right.
stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's an
If
important.
your normal environment, the normal vibrations in your environment are disrupted by something else that's coming in at a different wavelength, for lack of a better word, the chemical responses between the cells change. And that's where disease begins,
Right.
at
That's
that
a
level.
that's a really important bridge, Linda. Thank you so much, Dr. B. I've got the toughest question for you.
Of
Okay.
course.
Yeah, I asked Linda and Dr. M to sort of give a descriptive account. The toughest question for you is this, with a bit of context. We are not going to do away with technology and wireless technology, and EM is electromagnetic waves are here to stay. So what realistically, let's assume that Dr. M and Linda are right. What realistically can societies do, people do, to reduce the negative impact of these things? Because they're not going away. I mean, after this call, I'm going to call Nurse Linda on our phone. We're going to be on our phones. So, okay. And, and she's cooked your dinner, by the way, in a microwave. So, God, really hope you're going to be okay. But anyway, what to me, what's your, what's your sort of answer to that long, and by the way, I was rambling, so I gave you time to think.
Well, the, the, you're right. It's not going away. It's a technology. It's not going away. We've had, for instance, microwaves you brought up. We've had those since the 1980s, and the shielding in those microwaves was not always the best, and still in many instances not the best. So you're putting those electromagnetic waves directly into your home, and so when you stand next to them, you're getting an increased dose. Um, and there have been cancers linked to being near microwaves all the time. Um, Things like your television, they need to have better ways to screen the television, because not only do you get the electromagnetic waves, but you get the blue lights, and the blue lights really are what interfere with sleep. And you have to turn the televisions off at least an hour and a half, probably 2 hours before you can have a really good chance to have good sleep habits. It's
Wow.
interfered with our sleep habits tremendously.
Mhm.
And there are screens, there are shields, there are all kinds of things that they need to develop. There are some that have already been developed, and we need to make better utilization of them. And there are more that can be developed. We also have, uh, Dr. Maria brought up the children, and a lot of them have cell phones, and they hold them next to their head. It's not well known, but if you make phone calls when the battery is less than 20%, you increase threefold your risk for getting cancer from that. From that, the radiation goes up um, uh, exponentially when you use the last 20% of your phone to make a call. Uh, Kids don't know that. They routinely run their batteries right down. Um, so just looking back in our own history, we had visible evidence of all this early on when they had telephone wires that were above ground. You could see how the trees all grew around those telephone wires and the electromagnetic um, processes that
Mm.
and the
Okay.
things. And we knew about it. Nobody even thought about it back then. And so now we're at that position where we have to develop the technology that will protect us from this technology. And I mean, that sounds strange, but that's exactly what we have to do. No, the technology is not going away. Instant communications around the world. Um, One other thing is, and we didn't touch upon this, is what it's done to personal interaction.
Mm.
If
Mm.
you walk around in a busy downtown street, and we live in Tampa. If you walk down around Tampa, you'll see everybody buried into their cell phone. Nobody's interacting with one another. Um, at schools, in the hallways, the kids have. It takes away from interpersonal relationships. And that's one of the hallmarks that make us human, our ability to have those interpersonal relationships. So all of this technology, not only from a biological sense, but from a psychological sense.
Dr. B, I'm going to pull you back in, even though I asked you the toughest question. But don't worry, the Dr. M and Linda get the same question in a little bit. I'm going to pull you back. What realistically can we do about this? Well, you've said a couple of things like building better microwaves, for example.
Right.
What else
We have
can
to have
we do?
better
Right.
shielding all the way around for your phones, for your microwaves, for
Okay.
for anything that has electromagnetic waves that we're exposed to. We need to have better shielding. And some of that technology exists and some of it does not. And it's all
Okay.
about shielding us from the damaging processes. Um,
Okay. Interesting. So basically, if there was a startup company developing great shielding for these waves, they would do really well.
as long as it's affordable, because everything's
Yeah,
driven by money.
yeah,
It's got to
yeah,
be affordable shielding.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Interesting, interesting. Dr. M, same question to you. What can we do about realistically, not unrealistically, because we're not going to go back. We're not going to go back to the pre-19 whatever it was. What can we individually realistically do? Like, for example, don't sleep with the phone. Don't put on your TV. Switch off your TV an hour and a half before bed. Don't stand next to your microwave. What are the realistic things we can do?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. B. There are a lot of things that we need to be educated on about this. People need to know, first of all, that there is a problem and that's what we're trying to bring out right now. There really is, but we don't have to be miserable. So one thing is for sure, hard wiring is the way to protect yourself. If you can have your whole office and or your home hardwired, you'd be a heck of a lot better off. So you will not be having all of that pulsed radiation coming at you or your family or anything that's living in your house.
Mm.
Also, the outside of your house is going to suffer too. They have things like what we call there's smart technology, right? So smart meters are giving off radiation, pulsed radiation, checking to see how much electricity you're using. That's not very healthy. And people are actually covering that with like aluminum foil. But we can cover our routers. You can use an actual metal covering, and aluminum would be like the cheapest. But you can cover a router. You can turn off a router in the house, turning off Wi-Fi when you're not using it. Okay, if you're using Wi-Fi, which is what we're really having the problem with, the Wi-Fi, meaning wireless, it really does emanate. It's all over the place. And if you have a phone on you or a device, or you're wearing a watch that is working with that whole system, those type of watches, or a wearable, some kind of a monitor or earplugs, or anything that is associated with Bluetooth. Bluetooth is another thing that is all associated with wireless industry. You really shouldn't be putting these things on, as far as I'm concerned. Other people may argue with me on that, but I know that the pulses are coming at you. They're touching your skin. They're going right into your electromagnetic field, because we are electric. So it can be, adding to cardiac problems, cardiac dysrhythmias. That's not fun. And we've seen an uptick in that problem everywhere. So people use these devices, they're putting them all over themselves without any protection. So there are other things. You can have apparel. There is now, of course, as a result of this mess, we've got other industries that have had to come in order to try to mitigate this technology. We have to use other technology. So there is undergarment that people are wearing. Like their shields, their metal shields, like copper and silver underwear. They have hats.
What are they called? What are these garments called?
What are they called?
Yeah. Is there a sort of generic name for them?
Well, they're like shields, and then there are different companies now that have come out with these shielding apparel. And so people have blankets. When I go on an airplane, or I'm around a lot of, like in a theater, a venue, I'll take my little blanket. I have a shield. Actually, my son bought it for me because he knows, and he listens. But we have blankets. You can have covers for your bed. If you go to a hotel, that's a place where you're going to find a hell of a lot of Wi-Fi. And that is like really on fire. So people need to know this, that you can have shielding, you can turn things off in the rooms. I always recommend people go to lower floors on the hotel scene, because the higher floors, you're closer to the antenna and all those, those 5G and 4G things that are up on top of the roofs. The closer you are to that, the more radiation you're going to get. So people are turning off their phones, putting them in airplane mode. Distance is your friend. If you keep it away from you, anything that you have, any of your devices, keep them far from you, or at least a reasonable distance, so that you can use a speaker, or that you can see what whatever you're looking at. I would tell people, get wired. Those who are very sensitive, and there are those who are electromagnetic sensitive. There is such a thing.
Yep.
And it's not been really recognized by the medical profession, not yet. Anyway, I don't think, Linda, we have it in our coding. But
no, we don't.
Electromagnetics are, causing all these things. So you want a shield, and you have like I said, we have these things that'll mitigate the apparel, turning things off, watching where you are in wherever you are. If you're in a venue, or if you're a place where there's a
Yeah.
lot of phones, or everybody's got phones, like in an office, everybody's got phones. What can you do? They do have these shields that you can purchase that actually change the polarity around you. They do exist. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, and people are not aware as
You
far as I can.
totally, totally. While we've been talking, I just Googled Wi-Fi shielding apparel, and there's so much out there. Under,
Yes,
undergarments, garments, headset. There is so much out there. You know a lot. You guys know a lot.
I had to.
Dr. B, what do you want to say?
I was just going to add that while all these things are out there, not all of
Mhm.
them have been tested thoroughly, and we don't know how effective that shielding
Okay.
is for a lot of
Yeah,
these
yeah,
apparels and that. So it's a caveat emptor,
yeah,
but it's a good step in the right direction to do these things, and
yeah.
hopefully these shielding apparel and everything else will
Become the
provide the
norm.
benefits that we're looking for.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, brilliant. As ever, I am massively, massively educated, as are our listeners and our future listeners, because these shows are recorded. So please hit the subscribe button. Look at all our recordings. You'll see Dr. M, you'll see Dr. B, you'll see Nurse Linda, and you'll see Dr. P as well, who's back next week. I found him, he's back. You'll see all of these guys educating us about healthcare. We call it the Happy Healthcare Hour, so please subscribe. Last word to you, Nurse Linda. You kicked us off. What are you sort of bring us home? Anything you want to say, anything more you want to say that we haven't already said about the issue, what we can do against it, anything that we haven't already touched on?
Well, I can tell you that I have a daughter who's sensitive to everything, and she's the first one that alerted me to the problem with the cell phones. She can't even hold one in her hand
Right.
without having a special case on it, and they sell cases that you put your phones in, and
Mm.
she has one of those cases so that she can touch the phone. She
Wow.
has her laptop in that. She has her iPad in that. Everything is shielded because she is one of those people that is uber sensitive to
Yeah.
even the touch of it. So
Yeah.
you won't catch her with anything by her ear. But it's a very real thing, and I've been aware of it since she became aware of it, and she had a lot of trouble trying to convince physicians that she was seeing that this was an actual real issue. I
Yeah.
think the most important thing that we can do, whether it's in the podcast or it's in the office or it's on the street, with your friends, with your family, is educate them. Just educate them. You cannot fix what you don't know is broken.
Well, I hope that we have gone somewhere, some way on this week's show to educate people. I can say that I'm certainly educated from the last 30 minutes. So I thank you, Nurse Linda. Thank you, Dr. B. And thank you, Dr. M. And we're also going to be talking next week, in fact, about our kids are not well. So join us for that show. But for now, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from your amazing doctors and nurses.